walk out on that field today, ask yourself this question. What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We ready! We ready! We ready! We ready! And let's go to the house! And let's go to the house! When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Football is getting hit. That's it. It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house. We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how like we the Miami Heat of football. Yap, 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 yap. The bottom line is you got to buckle up your chin strap. It's embarrassing. Yap, 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 yap. Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from them. He's a man. They can be hit just like us. He's a man. You already make the big money. He's a man. Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's war out there. When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. Oh, my bad, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
Man, I'm hyped to that, man. How about that? Welcome to Throwback Thursday on the lunch break, powered by JM&E. Clearly, I am not AJ Jones. I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review, filling in for AJ. He's under the weather a bit. So I got some, I think, 3 quality people lined up. First person is already in the studio. She's ready to join. I hope she's ready and doesn't talk about anything that I've forgotten to give her. But I'm going to bring her in the studio, Kennetra Pulliams. How are you, lady?
Hey, Kris, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for joining me on today's show. How long do I have you?
I'm here for the full hour.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Well, I don't know if you want to do that, Kennetra, but okay. Thank you very much for that. As I said, AJ Jones is under the weather. He's been battling for a while now. He just can't get over whatever. He's got bronchitis. I think latest was walking pneumonia. So
oof.
He's in with a lot of stuff. So he's taking, hopefully he's back at sleep, not getting some rest.
Good. And
not watching this show. So we're going to do this and we're going to have fun this hour. He gave me the key to the kingdom. So that's kind of scary. But all right, Kennetra, I have a question for you.
All right, what's up?
Well, first, I'm sorry. First of all, for the folks who are new to the lunch break, please let everybody know who Kennetra Pulliams is.
Big 12 Now, ESPN Plus reporter covering KU men's basketball and football. But now that the Liberty Bowl has happened, football season is over for now. I mean, signing day is a couple weeks away, so it's all basketball right now.
KU basketball. She covers KU. So if I have any Coug fans who are tuning in for the first time on the lunch break, don't be mad. Don't hate. The Cougs not in the Big 12 yet. So
no. Hey, Cougars still number 1. KU is 2 in the latest AP ranking. So
yes, but Kennetra and I are planning to probably work hand in hand a little bit more as the Cougs officially join the Big 12 in a few months. So Keith Hennig, thank you very much for joining the show, chiming in the show from San Antonio, from the Riverwalk. Ooh, he's fancy. Ooh, look at that. Okay. Kennetra, that's right. You are from San Antonio. Correct. Yeah. What are your thoughts on, is it official yet that Mr. Warren has left the Big Ten to join the Bears?
Look, I saw that half an hour ago. I hadn't seen anything official, but I saw that the Big Ten commissioner is going on to, he's enlarging his territory.
He's going back to the NFL. That's his area of that he really probably enjoyed and worked longest in his career. But what are your thoughts on that? You think he just didn't want to deal with the Big Ten college athletics? he loves NFL.
That's,
what?
The changing landscape of college athletics. I mean, there's a new NCAA commissioner coming in. It's really different from what he signed up for. Dealing with name, image, and likeness. And then I saw a report earlier in the week about college football coaches not really liking the calendar as it's a challenging calendar, especially in December, with preparing for bowl games, dealing with the transfer portal, early signing day, and then as soon as you finish your bowl game, then all of a sudden you're like hosting recruits who may be wanting to transfer into your program. You're still trying to re-recruit the players already in your program. And then at the same time, signing day is first Wednesday in February. So it's a really condensed and cramped kind of 6 weeks, if you will, of December. So trying to figure out the end of the regular season, preparing for a bowl game, recruiting, NIL, transfer portal. I mean, it's tough. And then, with the two incoming Pac-12 future Big Ten teams, the geography of what college athletics is, of what the Big Ten is going to be, much like the Big 12, it's different.
Do you think it's a good move for him?
I don't know. I don't know his situation. I don't know, what's best for he and his family, and then what's his passion? Does he like just the vibe of the NFL more so than college athletics, than being solely focused on one team, as opposed to commissioner of the expanded Big Ten? It's easier to focus in on one team than having to govern a lot of different personalities and administrators. It's not made for everybody.
Agreed. And let me say hi, Erica. Hi, Donna. Thank you for chiming in. And, Erica is a Mizzou grad, so I almost invited her to join the show, but I didn't know her schedule or whatever. But so, Erica, maybe next time I get to do this again as a host, I may tap on you and have you pick your brain so you can brag on your college days and all those great things. And thank you, Erica, for sharing a link to my interview with Tandy Jones, the Houston Cougar legend, who's now coaching at her high school, Bay City High School. And that was a fun interview. We're going to do more of those in the future, talking about our U8's women's basketball program. And again, for anybody jumping on, where's AJ? AJ is under weather. He's not feeling well, so he should be sleeping. And I'm hosting.
Look, maybe he's taking notes, so when he joins us next time.
Especially about barbecue, because he's all wrong about barbecue. So hopefully he's learning about where the best barbecue is, because it's in Texas, not in Kansas City. But we digress on that issue. KU had a tough game. Well, let me get your thoughts on KU men's basketball so far in Big 12 play. They've struggled at home, but they found ways to win.
Right. They've been challenged, but Bill Self, among all the other coaches, had say how tough the Big 12 is this season. Top to bottom, it's really challenging. KU was fortunate enough to do as well as they could have done on the road last week, picking up 2 road wins, one in Lubbock against Texas Tech, and then following that in Morgantown, the largest win in Morgantown for KU maybe in the past 10 years. So it was a very strong showing on the road. But yeah, first Big 12, the Big 12 conference opener at home against Oklahoma State came down to the final possession. The Texas Tech game came down to the end. They had a little more breathing room in Morgantown, but yeah, coming back home and taking on a motivated Porter Moser-led OU squad, and KU was up, and then OU kind of took over and played really well in the second half for the most part. And then the final 3 minutes of the game happened. OU was up 10 points with about 4.5 minutes to play, and held KU 13 minutes without a field goal. But what enabled KU to stay in contention or close enough to mount the comeback is their ability to drive the ball. And even though, excuse me, the shots weren't falling from the field, they were getting to the rim and initiating contact to get to the free throw line. And they were able to make enough free throws to be able to take over and kind of play through foul trouble. Also, KU's perimeter defense was outstanding, holding OU to just three pointers over the course of the game.
And we're going to take this quick break. I'm doing my part to do everything on time like AJ does. So we're going to have this quick break here on BS3 Network. And I think Ben has chimed in with comments from him saying what's up to us. But yes, got to say this because I'm enjoying this. And hopefully at some point this year, going to be officially, because my man Andy Yanez is in the studio as well. We're going to join the BS3 family also. So if you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If not, just go to bs3network.com. Go play this segment and play this clip and be right back.
If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
And we are back to Throwback Thursday on the lunch break, powered by JM&E. I am Kris Gardner, hosting for AJ Jones, who was a little bit under the weather. And joining me is Kennetra Pulliams from Big 12 Now, and the youngster of the group. I guess he's younger than Kennetra. I don't want to say anything, so just go with the flow on that one. Andy Yanez from Gallery Sports. See? It's a weird thing. Andy, say something.
Can you guys hear me? Test 1, 2.
We can hear him,
3.
and now Kennetra has the issue that that Willie Gibson has apparently. So
I can hear you, Kris, perfectly.
But Kennetra can't say anything. Is that right? She can't hear us. She's like shaking her head. Not
Doesn't look like
she
can. Does not look like she can.
Yeah, Kennetra, log out, or pop out and pop back in. Let's try that. And I guess it'll turn into a Coug segment for a few minutes. So let me see. Let me type it in first. I hate technology.
That's a good thing about being live. Just roll with the punches.
Yeah, we're just going to roll with the punches and keep it going. So, and she doesn't even have the wireless. She has wired earbuds so it's very strange. But it's live streaming. We're all used to it by now. We're going to keep it moving. Andy, thank you very much for hopping on short notice, and it was very short notice, like within the hour to do this. But you are with Gallery Sports, and we are on the BS3 Network for Throwback Thursday of the lunch break. And this is the show of the network that at some point, Andy and I, maybe this year, will hop on to be a part of the BS3 Network family. So just keep that in mind as well. Let's see if we can get Kennetra. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Can you hear me? She didn't look like she can. How about now, Kennetra? Nope. All right, well, stay in the studio because maybe you'll come back when Andy is done. This is weird.
Maybe it's a two-person thing.
So maybe that's very strange. But okay. Andy, real quick. How long you got on the show today?
I can go with you for a few minutes. I can go till 1 o'clock.
Okay, well, I don't want to do that because I want to get Kennetra back on at some point. Oh, man. Okay, your thoughts on last night's game? Well, no. Since you are new to the lunch break, tell everyone about Andy Yanez and what you're doing with Gallery Sports and Let's Rage Cougs.
It's been a while. So for those of you guys that do not know me or who may not be familiar with me, my name is Andy Yanez. My Twitter handle is the one that's right next to the screen there at @Yanez_5. I'm the Houston Cougars football and men's basketball reporter for GallerySports.com, which obviously it's a great opportunity that I've been able to have really since the end of August, early September, to be able to write with just talented writers at GallerySports.com. John McClain, John Lopez. There's a lot of star power behind Gallery Sports, which really got me excited in the first place. But I'm focusing specifically on the Houston Cougars football and men's basketball for now. And since late November, I've been not only covering, obviously, Kris Houston Cougars men's basketball team here in Houston, but I've begun to travel on the road as well when it comes to covering the Cougars. And an exciting season for them. They're ranked number 1 in both national polls on Thursday, January 12th, that we're recording this. And like you said, coming off the heels of another victory, a tough victory, a scrappy victory against South Florida, and in a game in which that Houston was short-handed heading into the game and even had more shortcomings when it comes to foul trouble in that game in and of itself. I think whenever we do Folks Talking Sports and Let's Rage Cougs, you always mention it as well. But Let's Rage Cougs is the unofficial postgame show of Houston Cougars football and men's basketball. We had a show we stream, give or take, anywhere between 30 to an hour after each and every football and men's basketball game. We just had a show last night, just over 12 hours ago, discussing everything in regards to Houston and South Florida. And really my vision for that show was to kind of provide an outlet for the Houston Cougars football and men's basketball team that you don't necessarily have with traditional media across the city of Houston. You know, when you think of the Houston Rockets, the Texans, the Astros, especially when it comes to those professional teams, after each and every game, even if it's for a few minutes, fans have the opportunity to have a forum to continue to talk about their favorite teams, whether it be calling into specific radio show, being able to interact, hear post-game comments and reactions from the head coaches and players. And that's kind of my vision for that, to be able to fill in that space. And of course, doing it on a bit of a new media platform. We live stream on YouTube. On Kris, we always say thank you for allowing us to use your platform on the Houston Roundball Review. We stream on Twitter, my personal account at @Ayanez_5, and also Pod Slam Jam. And you can even listen if you can't tune in live, no problems, because we have the replay. You can go and check it out on wherever you have podcasts, so it's Spotify, Apple Podcast, even on YouTube, wherever you get Pod Slam Jam and audio only, so Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere else. And then, of course, on YouTube at the Houston Roundball Review. That's a mouthful, but that is what we're doing with Houston Cougars athletics, for Houston Cougars football and men's basketball currently.
And Kennetra, I think, is good to go now. And one, I'm glad Andy was able to join us, is because of what Kennetra does with KU Athletics. She does the pre and post game shows for the Jayhawks as part of the Big 12 now on ESPN Plus, which Andy and I kind of have a vision/goal of doing for Youth Athletics when they joined the Big 12. So Kennetra, kind of share your info, insight, background, and how that got started, and really what you do for the pre and post game shows for KU.
Sure, absolutely. So it started off, I was working at an RSN, a regional sports network, Spectrum Sports, and we had KU's third tier rights. And so, through Spectrum Sports, we would do the pregame and the postgame show, a 30-minute pregame and 1 hour postgame, and then we would also broadcast select games that weren't picked up by the ESPN family of networks. Basically, the non-conference games, one football game, and the exhibition games, like 2 exhibition games and like 3 non-conference games for basketball. We would actually do the entire broadcast. And so that lasted for 5 years. And then KU decided to bring that production in-house. And so they asked me if I wanted to come on board and kind of continue in the same role of what I was doing with Spectrum Sports. Like, sure. And so we cover all games, all football and all men's basketball games. We do basically cover the press conference during the week, and collect sound and kind of just do kind of a preview looking ahead to the game. And then post game. We do a 1 hour post game show, so we'll take press conferences live when accessible. Take both coaches. It's more so done with basketball than football to be able to take both coaches or both teams post game press conferences live, and then we try to fill the content with analysis. We have both a on-set host and analyst, and then I'll do reporting, just extra interviews to kind of fill in the blanks. Sometimes we'll get whoever's doing the national broadcast. Tuesday night it was John Ciampi, Fran Fraschilla, and Chris Button. And so we'll bring them in just to kind of give a neutral perspective on the game coming up. We'll do that as well, with football.
See, Andy, she's big time. She's fancy like that. She gets the national announcers, the game announcers, to chime into her show.
And
That's
she
a go
gets
for
to
us.
stream the post game coverages live.
Yeah, how about that? Streaming the post game shows live too. So that's. I wonder if UH will let us do that.
I mean,
No.
I imagine, well, probably next year once you're in the family, and it's because so many of the games are broadcast. Like for instance, the West Virginia KU game in Morgantown, as well as the game coming up against Iowa State. Those are ESPN Plus broadcasts, and I know a lot of viewers are upset that they already pay for cable or however to streaming services, so to have to additionally purchase ESPN Plus just to watch a game that they would normally be able to watch. There's been a lot of complaints, so we'll see what the new commissioner, what his vision is as far as being able to get the conference product to as many household and viewers, just kind of to grow the brand. So we'll see, so when U of H comes on board, next year, we'll see kind of what the media rights looks like.
Andy, before I bring in Kim Davis, do you have any questions for Kennetra?
I get, and Chris, hopefully I joined in. Hopefully this wasn't asked before I came in, but obviously overall you're focusing on Kansas. But what's kind of been your biggest takeaway so far early on in conference schedule with the Big 12? Because looking at it from an outside perspective, it just looks like it's the Wild Wild West, night in and night out.
It's brutal. I mean, it's you look at, like men and women's side. You see how hard Kansas had to fight to remain unbeaten in conference play. You see what Kansas State, had to do at home Tuesday night as well. And then, just last night. So Texas is down at home 18 points to a very talented ranked TCU team. Texas is down 13 at halftime, and then they battle back and they come back to win that game at home. So they're 3-1 on the conference season. So right now it's you're looking at this big matchup coming up Tuesday night, Sunflower Showdown, KU and K-State, who as of right now are both undefeated in conference play. K-State has to play TCU on Saturday. KU has to play Iowa State, which throttled Texas Tech Tuesday night. So we'll see if they're both unbeaten when they play Tuesday night at 6:00. Who knows? I mean, because it could conceivably be a matchup of two top 10 teams. So remarkable what Jerome Tang has done in his first year as a head coach in college. Coming from learning for 19 years under Scott Drew at Baylor, and just the way that he's infused joy and passion and excitement into that K-State program. I mean, it's good to see. And talking with Fran Fraschilla, he was saying that it's good for all teams to be competitive and not, yes, everyone is chasing KU. There's a national champions, as they should be. So when every team is going to push KU, it's better for the league as a whole.
Agreed. And I've known Coach Tang for, Andy, how long has he been alive?
22 years.
Probably about that long. I've known Coach Tang when he was coaching at Heritage Christian in Cleveland, Texas. That's a long time ago. That's before Baylor. Okay, so that's
Yes.
20 years at least that he was
Yeah.
at Baylor for 19, and then the first year at K-State. So way back when. So I'm very happy for Coach Tang and the job he's doing at K-State. But Kennetra, how bitter, if it is the rivalry between Kansas and K-State?
Depends who you ask. There's different perceptions.
K-State perspective.
There's different perceptions because like it's you ask KU fans, they're like, it's not a rivalry if it's not competitive.
Right.
If you like same thing with KU and Mizzou, and they played earlier this year, and the border war has been renewed, and so they're in the middle of a 6-game series in basketball. Football will resume in a couple of years. I mean, if you go back a month, there were rumors that it was supposed to be KU and Mizzou in the Liberty Bowl, but that Mizzou was ducking that potential matchup in the name of having a home basketball game against Kentucky that same night to open SEC play, a game which Mizzou won. And so they didn't want to kind of divide and conquer their fan base. And so, depends on who you believe if that's how it really went down. But for the basketball for KU and K-State, it's great because, the schools are separated by about an hour and a half. And so, it's been very one-sided. But, K-State has pushed KU at times. So, this will be a fun team because it's a very new K-State team, but we'll see what happens in the Octagon of Doom Tuesday night.
Love the nickname, and we're going to bring in Kim Y. Davis from Chalk Talk for her insight and her thoughts on the woeful Texans, the woeful Rockets. Baseball season, spring training is a month away, so she can talk about that too. Kim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Say hello to Kennetra and Andy if you haven't already met them.
Hey,
I've
Kim.
met Andy before. Hey, Kennetra, nice to meet you.
You too.
Do you want to talk about the woeful Texans first?
Look at here. Don't blame Lovey.
Right.
Because they set him up to fail. All Lovey is David Culley 2.0. The organization did nothing to make sure Lovey would succeed. So yeah, he's a one and done casualty. But what did he have to work with? How do you blame him?
Yeah, that's the question I asked the GM the other night at the press conference. I said, so because now they're saying we're pointed in the right direction where they've got cap space, they've got draft picks, and he said, now we're headed in the right direction. I said, so the last two coaches who were one and done were never given the resources to have an opportunity to be successful. I said, but you get to still be here. So what's going to be different? And he goes, oh, that's fair, but I'm committed and I've been accountable. How? They played two quarterbacks to try to piece together some semblance of an offense, to have any productivity, and it didn't work because they didn't have anything to work with. They could have lined the four of us up and maybe have done as well.
I played Powder Puff. I played intramural football.
But that organization has a lot to go.
But seriously, let's call it what it is. They didn't want Lovey in the first place. He was an afterthought hire. They wanted Josh McCown, but then, Brian Flores spoke his truth, and so the ownership group or the powers that be within the Texans are like, well, maybe we need to pipe down about who we really want and take a look at Lovey. You bring him in at the 11th hour, but you didn't give him. You wanted him to cook, but you didn't let him shop for the groceries.
Well, here's the thing, Kennetra. I said when they talked about, and when some of the local media, especially the radio guys who've been campaigning for Lovey to be fired from very early on. So I'm not even going to talk about some of the issues that they had with Lovey and Culley, or even with a Dusty, who's clearly a winner. That's not who they ever wanted, right? And they've been saying, he's this, he's that. don't know. I'm not going to say that they listen to media. I think that'd be giving media a little too much credit. But that narrative that there had to be this change. And so you fire 2 coaches in 2 years, that's a reflection on your management. They're like, we got a clean house. I said, well, my father said, when you clean up, if you don't sweep and mop, you just straighten it up. So y'all just straightening up, right? You're not really cleaning house because you kept Nick
No.
Caserio.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, and here's the other thing. I was doing a TV show the other morning, and the person said, well, the 49ers fired 2 coaches 2 years in a row. I said, so for starters, the Texans can't be compared to the 49ers as an organization. That's one. And 2, after they fired Chip Kelly in that second year, they fired the general manager, and they hired John Lynch, the current general manager, who hired Shanahan. It's not the same. You've shown, Nick Caserio, that you're not the guy for this rebuild, in my opinion, but he gets to keep his job. So we'll see what they do.
I mean,
And
same,
for all the
same
people
thing
who
with
think Sean Payton's coming here, Sean Payton's not coming here. I'd
Now-
be very.
Now
Why
it's
would he
out.
come
Now it's out
here?
full control. Yeah. Now it's
Why
out
would he
full
come
control.
here?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is like, because you have to be introspective and kind of look in the mirror. Like, if you've hired 2 successive head coaches back to back and you only gave them 1 year to clean up your mess, like, how is that fair to them? But then that also calls into question, as a GM, what is your decision-making process? If you didn't hire the first guy, the correct guy to get it done, but you didn't give him time to fix it. So you're like, okay, my bad, let me take 2. And you do it again, same result. What's the common denominator in this one?
Oh yeah, it's the GM's front office.
Management, the general manager.
Yeah. And for those tuning in at the bottom of the hour here on Throwback Thursday on the lunch break, I'm Kris Gardner, hosting for AJ Jones, who's a little bit under the weather. I got guests, 3 folks I've known who know sports, very knowledgeable, and that's why I asked them to be on the lunch break today. Andy Yanez from Gallery Sports, Kim Davis from Chalk Talk, and Kennetra Pulliams from the Big 12, now on ESPN Plus, and a few other hats. Everybody on here wears a lot of hats, so cover a lot of different sports, do a lot of different things. But if you have a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV. If you don't have a Roku streaming device, just go to bs3network.com. In about 8 minutes, we're going to play another commercial as part of the BS3 Network family, because got to pay the bills here. And once again, Andy and me might be part of this family at some point this year on the BS3 Network. So you can tune in on Facebook, YouTube. I think AJ's even on, what is it, Twitch, something like that as well, stuff I don't even know about. AJ's got the lunch break all over the place. So, Kim, do you want to talk about the Rockets now? You want to wait till after the break? 'Cause that's a long discussion as well.
Yeah, well, I will say this before we get to the Rockets. I did go to Rice in Middle Tennessee last night.
Yes.
I've seen them play the last couple of weeks, and the Owls looked good the first half. And then I was looking at the box score, and I'm like, wow, at the half, Middle Tennessee was 0 for 10 from 3. And I know that when they played the first time, they were 13 of 26 from 3. So what does that mean? In the second half, that number changed drastically. I mean, Middle Tennessee started draining threes, and Rice, they fought, but they couldn't get it done. And I was, I hate the fact that the last 2 weeks I've been there that they've lost.
Yes. Has Coach Pera asked you?
I didn't even go into post game last night. I just did it on Zoom. I'm like, yeah, he may be like, can you not come Saturday? But so yeah, that was a really interesting game, and I don't really know what they could have done differently, except they could have been better from the foul line, and they had some stretches where their offense went dry. But yeah, we could talk about Rockets after the break, and now that people are talking about whether or not Steven Silas survives this rebuild, because that's the conversation. Yeah,
we'll get into that. But Andy and Rice women, who I was touting for a while, they were undefeated. Then conference play started. They are no longer undefeated. They're now 1-4 in conference. They got waxed on the road by Middle Tennessee by 29, 85, 26. Their defense is taking a nap for pretty much throughout conference play. So that's, if you can't stop folks, it's real hard to win. That's been their problem thus far. But Andy Yanez, the Houston Cougars women's basketball team, is undefeated in conference play. They're 3-0. Andy, what are your thoughts on that? Are you shocked?
Shocked, I don't know if you could say shock's the right word. I think it's a pleasant surprise. I'll phrase it that way, just because it's kind of like you mentioned, it's kind of the opposite of with the Rice between Houston and Rice from non-conference, because the Cougars, especially during the stretch there where they were losing, and the most frustrating part about the Houston Cougars women's basketball team, and some of it's not like they were going night in and night out and they were just getting blown out of the building. They were doing some really good things. They were able to build up some leads in a lot of these non-conference games, and they just couldn't finish. Now, turn around come conference play, and Kris, you were at the game this past week when they played Central Florida, and you can comment more on it, but that seems to be their more complete game, the utter domination that they had against the Knights. Now, obviously, they're in a much different place than they were the last few seasons when it comes to where they are as a program. They're in a bit of a rebuild in terms of where UCF is. But give credit to the women's basketball team, because to me, what that shows, it shows two things. One, it shows the team being able to fight through adversity, because that non-conference schedule, especially during stretches, because I think after a few of those losses started to snowball, they were going against some opponents where you kind of expected them to maybe not dominate as much as they did to UCF, but put better performances, and it seemed like it was starting to struggle. It seems like they've been able to get past that, but also get to a point where now they're building confidence. But at the end of the day, for a team that was picked to finish second in the American Athletic Conference, they're doing what they were picked to do heading into the season. We've getting much more of a glimpse of what we thought we were going to see heading into the season now. Something head coach Ron Huey always says, they like to challenge themselves when it comes to non-conference, because once they get into the conference schedule, they feel like they're much more battle tested. But at the end of the day, what's going to matter for Houston and what's going to be the biggest obstacle for them is how they do against South Florida, and if they can take them down, because that's really the biggest obstacle when it comes to winning the American Athletic Conference. And Kris, you and I both agreed in previous show on Folks Talking Sports, when it comes to the women's basketball team, I think the only way for them to be able to make the NCAA tournament is to win the American Athletic Conference to get that automatic bid, and winning the postseason tournament in the American, which, depending on where they schedule, if they keep playing like they did, like they're currently playing right now, they'll certainly have a first round bye and only have to get 3 wins come tournament time in the conference. But that's really where all the focus has to be from now until that first week in March, being able to hit that right stride, because really that's been the biggest thing for when it comes to head coach Ron Huey. That's been kind of his golden ring that he hasn't been able to grab, being able to make the NCAA tournament. A couple seasons ago, he came close, hasn't been able to get over that hump, and heading into the Big 12, going to be a much different scene from the American next season once they earn the Big 12, especially early on with the way the season came out. I know you and me in particular, Kris, were wondering, is Huey the right guy to lead Houston heading into the Big 12? And we don't know what the administration is thinking at the University of Houston, but
you have an idea.
winning the American Athletic Conference in their final year would go a long ways to at least buying Huey the first few seasons, or at least the first season in the Big 12. But we'll see. Only time will tell.
And I'm going to go to break a few seconds early, because I got comments on what Andy said, and I'd like to get Kennetra's thoughts on it from a Big 12 women's basketball perspective too. But you're watching Throwback Thursday on the lunch break, powered by JM&E.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
like this. AJ gave me keys to the kingdom, the back end, the admin part. Look out, man. And he's not asleep, y'all. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing because he retweeted my tweet about hosting today's show. So shame on you, AJ, but thank you also for giving me this chance to host the show with Andy, Kennetra, and Kim. Throwback Thursday on the lunch break, powered by JM&E, part of the BS3 network. Having a lot of fun here. Got a few more minutes. Going to follow up with what Andy said about the Houston Cougars women's basketball team. They destroyed, I think I wrote demolished UCF on Tuesday, 80-42. UCF had 38 turnovers. And that wasn't even a season high for an opponent. I think the Cougs forced 43 turnovers against Texas A&M Commerce, earlier in the season. And that game was a struggle.
Close game.
Because, and that's been the issue for the Cougs is they force turnovers from the opponent, but either they themselves turn it over a lot or they miss a lot of shots. Mm-hmm. But Tuesday, they only had like 15 turnovers, so that's much better. They shot the ball pretty well, like 50% for the game, season high for them. So they improved to 3-0. The points off turnovers was 47-8. I'm not sure. I've been covering basketball a long, long time. I don't know if I can recall a 47-8 points off turnovers in a game. So UCF, new head coach, new philosophy. Satia Messer, former assistant coach at Baylor under, I think, Kim Mulkey for a while. So she's a very good recruiter. So she should do a good job. I still expect good things from her once they join the Big 12. Houston is 3-0 in women's basketball in the American. The men are 5-0, so I think they're one of a few programs that have both men's and women's teams undefeated in conference play. Women's team plays at Tulsa Saturday afternoon at 1 on ESPN+. But Ms. Pulliams, I do not believe the Houston Cougars women's team is ready for the Big 12. What say you from your outside perspective?
I mean, it's hard to say because right now there are no undefeated Big 12 women's basketball team in conference play. So it's the only maybe separation would be TCU, which is 0-4. But there are 4 teams that are 3-1 right now. Keep an eye on what's going on at Oklahoma State. J.C. Hoyt in her first year leading the Cowgirls, back-to-back big wins, beating Texas and then coming back and beating a ranked Baylor team which was kind of the national team of the week. So J.C. Hoyt is making a difference immediately, kind of the parallel to what Jerome Tang is doing on the men's side, in his first year leading that program. J.C. Hoyt's doing with Oklahoma State women. But, right now, Texas looks to be getting healthy. That kind of troubled them early on, some of their early losses, especially down in the Bahamas with Rory Harmon being hurt. But then she comes back, turns in a triple-double. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out at Iowa State, losing one of their starters to a season-ending knee injury.
Stephanie Suarez,
yeah. So you still have Ashley Jones. So
Kennetra,
I don't know. Yeah,
I think Ashley is your age because I swear she's been at Iowa State forever.
Is she the Stetson Bennett of women's basketball?
Yeah. But she can hoop.
No question. No, but seriously, how about the quarterback? I don't know his name. The quarterback for UTSA, who has just been granted a 7th year of eligibility.
Ashley's 5th or 6th year? I mean, it seems like she's been at Iowa State for so long, but she's been getting buckets for all that time. So
it's funny you say that about a 7th year. When I was looking through the notes last night, there was a player at Middle Tennessee, and they're like, "Oh, he's in his 7th year." And I was like, "What? Am I reading that right? Is that a typo?" Yeah. So that I went, "I'm okay, 7th year." I think they said he's one of only a handful.
Yeah, I apologize. I did not give you an opportunity to let folks know about Kim Davis, so please do so.
Oh, okay. Like, what do you want me to let people know?
How long you been around? How long we known each
Oh,
other?
okay,
You
I
know,
got
all
you.
those good
So,
things.
well, I've known Chris.
Your bio, your sports
Yeah.
bio.
So I've covered sports for more than 30 years. I tell people I started when I was 8. So I don't know, Chris, did I meet you before the Rockets' first 2 championships, or is that when I met you? So that was 93, 94, 95.
Probably a little bit
But I
after.
started maybe after that. So I covered when the Rockets actually did win championships, you know, and here we are. But yeah, I've covered
Yeah.
sports a long time. I'm a native Houstonian. I've worked in Houston and DC and New Orleans and Illinois. I had a stint as vice president of the Super Bowl for a couple years. And I've been back in Houston since um, '02, I guess. And my last real job was I worked at the NBC affiliate. I had a show and also was on a management team. And then I went out on my own in 2011. So I've done Chalk Talk as a show. It's a live weekly show. I've done that show now for 9.5 years. And I still do a lot of TV work with Fox, locally and nationally, CBS, and, just covering sports, telling stories. I think it's important to tell stories, and it's good to offer a different perspective. Still a very journalistically sound perspective, but as Kenitra will tell you, it's there are not a lot of voices in the room, and so sometimes when I'm annoyed, yes, by what I do or the circle or just the environment, I remind myself why I'm there, right? Because you need different people telling stories, talking about things that otherwise may not be discussed. But our perspective is different. I don't care how objective you want to be and how good of a journalist you are. We bring who we are to this work, and so you need different voices, different perspectives, different backgrounds in the room. So that's really why I do what I do. Working on my first book, and hope to finish a documentary this year. And I speak, so just trying to grind it and trying to make it work. And yeah, I've known Chris a long. We've been friends a long time. We've been colleagues, but really, really, we've been friends. And so when he texted me this morning or called me and said, can you come on? And I said, absolutely. So thank you. I'm always glad when people share their space with me because you don't have to. So thank you for that, my friend.
Okay, so Kim, just between us. So as long as
Yes.
you've known Chris, how would you rate his baking skills?
So I've only heard about his baking skills. I've never participated in him.
Okay.
But I'm a big cook, so maybe that's why I don't know if she shouldn't feel intimidated, but I mean, I'm kind of known for that. So, but I don't know,
She is.
Kenitra,
Yeah.
I've never
Fair.
partaken.
That's an interesting thing to bring up, Chris. Now I'm curious how.
I will. 2023. I will do that. I will bake some cookies for you, Kim, and bake some for you, Kenitra, Andy, whatever.
Oh no! Now I have to rate him.
I will do that. I will take care of that. Yes, that is a
I
promise.
also have another
saying
company
here
where I make
on Lunch
vegan
Break.
popcorn, so I have to get your
Wow.
address, Kenitra, and send you some because it ships easy. So I have to send you some popcorn, or maybe when you come to Houston for the Final Four, I will make you wait. I can send you some popcorn.
So let's look at kind of the core of Houston sports. So within a 9-month span, you get the Final Four and the college football national championship next January.
Yes.
That's big time.
And if you want to go a
big
little
time.
further, you can say we had the World Series a few months before that.
And then going
Yes.
forward, 2 years have the World Cup, part of the World Cup here as well.
We have
Yes.
the World Cup in 2016.
And in Kansas City as well. Kansas City is one of the also North American.
And one of those things missing from all that coming to Houston is the Women's Final Four. But I digress on all that because the Women's Basketball Committee seems to have their head in the sand when it comes to coming to Houston for the Women's Final Four.
Why is that, I wonder?
Even though the hotels that the media is using for the Men's Final Four are right next to the George R. Brown Convention Center, which is right next to the Toyota Center, which would be the site of the Women's Final Four. But that makes too much sense for the men, but women can't do that. I digress on that. I apologize. Okay, these last few minutes.
How do you really feel?
Could you tell I have a little bit on that?
Right.
Salty.
let's talk about Steven Silas and the Rockets. Kim, did you watch any of the game last night?
So when I got home from Rice, I did watch a little bit of it because it was a later start because it's out west. Yeah, I don't really understand. I don't really have any words. I don't know what happens to this team. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I go back to the last home game we covered, and they have these stretches and these moments, and even when they get a lead, they just can't. They can't finish, and then sometimes they just look out of control and out of sync. And I know the easy thing for people to say is it's coaching because they're not prepared. So how are you sometimes prepared and you're not? I don't know. I've covered sports a long time, and what's happening with this team at this point in this rebuild is just puzzling to me. What did you see when you saw the game last night, Kris?
Yeah, Andy and I, we were doing Let's Rage Cougs post game last night, so I had the score on my phone. So at the time, I did not know Kevin Porter Jr. was out. I guess after the first quarter with a foot injury, so I didn't know that. But They were up 1 going to the fourth quarter, like 95, 94, something like whatever. They were outscored 41-20 in the fourth quarter. Yeah. So a 1-point lead turned into a 20-point loss.
Yeah.
Trey Lyles, who is, and this is an exaggeration, okay, but my 50-year-old self is about as athletic as Trey Lyles. Okay, I saw him when he played for Detroit, and Trey's not. He's just not an athlete. He's a 6'10" big man, just not an athlete. He's a shooter. 5 for 5 from 3-point range in the fourth quarter to help them score 41 points and win the quarter by 21, and Rockets lose by 20. But for everybody, Andy, Kennetra, Kim, as we wrap it up here on Throwback Thursday on the lunch break, do you think what you're seeing, hearing, do you think Steven Silas has lost the locker room? Andy, you first.
I'll take it first. I would say no, but I think when it comes to the inconsistencies that you're seeing with the Rockets, I think much more, and I don't know, like Kim said, if you can point that specifically on coaching, I think it just shows much more of their youth. And Kris, is something that we talked about a few months ago when comparing the current Rockets roster. What's the average age of the team? Is it 21, 22?
Well, the average is probably, average is maybe a little bit higher.
Probably higher because you got a couple older guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric Gordon.
But the core is like 21. Yeah.
Right. So when you look at, that situation in the fourth quarter, it's such a young team that doesn't know how to close out games and how to be able to make plays that impact. Now I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say this, make plays that impact winning, to be able to close out the game. And then when you look at the veterans, that's what I want to comment. But then when you look at the veterans that are on the team, Eric Gordon in particular, it's clear that he's been wanting out of the team for a while now. He wants to be able to be a part of an organization that'll give him a good chance to be able to compete for a championship. And from what I've seen from the outside, well, now even much so, you can tell he's starting to get a little bit much more uneasy about the situation. Now he really wants to move more. But when you have a group like that that's young, inexperienced, and then the vets that are on the roster, particularly Eric Gordon, that for all intents and purposes, he wants to be out. And you have that mix. It's not going to necessarily translate to be able to execute plays down the stretch. And like I said, when it comes to the youth on the team, and particularly the core, you have Jalen Green, you have Jabari Smith, you have, I know Kevin Porter didn't play for most of the game last night, but those are the key rotational players. Alfred Şengün, who had a triple-double yesterday. They have to go through those growing pains. And I know earlier in the season, something that's been a huge criticism for Steven Silas, I can't remember what game it was, but I think they were in a position to win the game on a go-ahead shot. And the play ended up going to Eric Gordon, who took the last shot. And a lot of fans were killing Steven Silas. Like, why would you go to Eric Gordon? Why not give that shot to Jalen Green, one of the younger players? And again, that just shows how, as the season goes along, The frustrating thing would be if when it comes to the younger talent, you're not seeing that development throughout the course of the season. But it's going to be something where you have a lot of 22-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 20-year-olds. When they're going against veterans, they're going against grown adults that have been in the NBA for years.
He don't want to swear, but you know how I would phrase it. But going against grown ass men. But yeah, exactly. You got it.
It's gonna be hard.
Give you a minute to close it out. Then Kim close it out.
But I mean, like, not making excuses, but I have to wonder. Stephen Silas losing his dad. Like, how much is that subconsciously just kind of affecting him when you kind of lose your anchor and somebody so instrumental to who you are as a son, as a man, as a basketball, somebody involved in basketball, and as a coach and running your program, because you don't have that person to go to, you know, as a sounding board. Yeah, you're supposed to be head coach and you were hired for a reason, not for nepotism reasons, but at the same time, I would be kind of rudderless having to process those feelings and having to grieve and still coach a team.
Kim, what do you say as we close it up here on Throwback Thursday?
I think it's a great point. You know, I lost my mom last year, my brother a few months ago, and so it is hard, right, to keep it going. And I can only imagine, because he talks about his dad a lot. But the unfortunate part is that, you know, they struggled prior to him losing his dad, and you know, and so now he's got to kind of try to pull it all together with that in tow. So I don't know if he's going to get the grace to see the benefit of the rebuild. And that's what happens with teams. You take over, because remember, he didn't come here for a rebuild. He came here to coach 2 former MVPs.
Right.
And it turned into a lottery team. So I don't know. I hope he gets a chance. I use the word grace to coach him on the other side. I don't know if they're going to be patient enough for it. They need a win right now.
But unlike the Texans, at least he got more than 1 year.
True. And we're going to wrap it up right there.
And a little bit of talent.
He does have some talent, yes. I'm Kris Gardner, filling in, hosting Throwback Thursday on the lunch break, powered by JM&E. Filled in for AJ Jones, who's been a very poor patient because he's under the weather and still not taking a nap.
Sit down somewhere.
He's multitasking.
He needs to be asleep. But thank you very much to Andy Yanez from Gallery Sports, Kennetra Pulliams from Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus, Kim Y. Davis from Chalk Talk. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Throwback Thursday on the lunch break, powered by JM&E as part of the BS3 network. And reminder, if you have a Roku streaming device, so yes, Andy, we are on Roku right now, just download BS3 TV. If you don't, just go to bs3network.com. And we're going to close it up because I learned how to do this. And this will surprise AJ if he's watching. But the final bit of this show, as we wrap it up, will be from Sybil Wilkes. So you're going to hear Sybil Wilkes on her 3-minute update. And that'll be the end of today's show of Throwback Thursday on the lunch break. Everybody, take care. Peace.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Thursday, or, Friday Eve, January 12th, 2023. Number 1, an overnight computer outage grounded all departing flights nationwide Wednesday. FlightAware, the flight tracking platform, reported that more than 8,000 flights within, to, and out of the United States Wednesday morning were delayed. By Wednesday afternoon, nearly 2,000 flights were canceled. The FBI reported there was no evidence of a cyber attack. Number 2, the world's oceans were the hottest ever recorded in 2022, demonstrating the profound and pervasive changes that human-caused emissions have made to the planet's climate. More than 90% of the excess heat trapped by greenhouse gas emissions is absorbed in the oceans. Professor Michael Mann at the University of Pennsylvania, also part of a team, said warmer oceans mean there is more potential for bigger precipitation events like we've seen this past year in Europe, Australia, and currently on the west coast of the U.S. Number 3, the Pentagon formally dropped its COVID-19 vaccination mandate Tuesday, but a new memo signed by Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin also gives commanders some discretion in how or whether to deploy troops who are not vaccinated. General Austin said commanders have the authority to maintain unit readiness and a healthy force. He added, however, that other department policies, including mandates for other vaccines, remain in place. Number 4. Eric Holmes, a black father of 3, was fatally shot by a Clayton County, Georgia police officer last November. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, or the GBI, will be securing body camera video of the incident and offered to sit with the family during the investigation. According to a statement by the GBI, Officer Justin Stevens was investigating a parked stolen vehicle. Mr. Holmes got into the stolen vehicle and started to drive away after being commanded by Officer Stevens to stop. Stevens then fired several shots at the vehicle, which eventually forced Holmes to drive into a ditch. He succumbed to his injuries later that day. His family is now turning to litigation to get answers and justice. Number 5. In just 5 years, TikTok has amassed more than 1 billion global users. Eyeballs around the world are glued to the endless content and viral videos, citing concerns of potential risk, social media's impact on mental health, particularly among the Generation Z. Teen depression started to rise after 2012, and so did self-harm and suicide, according to San Diego State University psychologist Dr. Gene Twenge. He says that as smartphones and social media grew, so did the rate of depression among teenagers, nearly doubling between 2004 and 2019. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Surround yourself with people who have good energy. All right, come on around, y'all. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with Aprilette Russell as we discuss today's top headlines and more. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SibylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.